Good morning, friends. Going to do something a little different this time than the series has been so far. And I wanted to talk to you about details. So, one thing to pay close attention to when you're doing events are the details. Now, let me give you a real world example here. I was up at Fort Ticonderoga. They do these living history events, which you can think of them as a reenactment of what life was like at the time. This time it was the winter of 1776. So the garb that they wear, the way that they set the barracks and other things are based off of what it would have been like, as far as we know, in 1776, down to the room that they had set up with like a menu handwritten on the wall describing what things you could purchase, like rum. So all of that detail is carefully thought out and carefully put together for that event. So not only is it important to capture the people, it's important to capture the details that they've done. Now, one thing I want to do going forward is this year, I want to capture a lot of the uniforms and the outfits that they wear. Because again, whether it's the fort people themselves or the reenactors who come in, everybody spends a lot of time and attention to the details of their outfits, the details of how the camps are set up when they do reenactments. And I want to capture all of that this year, a little bit more than I have in years past. Now, when I say that, the caveat is, of course, that I've already taken thousands of pictures of these events before, so this will probably double it, getting all the details that I want to get this year. And you may say, well, that's great for an event like that, but think about it. If you're shooting a wedding, yes, the attention should be on the bride and groom, but there's a lot of time around that when things are being set up or when things are happening that don't involve the bride and groom. They may not even be present. Take the time to capture everything. If the bride isn't in the dress yet, but the dress is hanging up, especially if it's on a mannequin or something, get the details of the dress. If there's an opportunity for you to get her in the dress before the wedding, for example, when she goes in to try it on, to make sure that the adjustments are correct, get those photographs if you can. Treat the wedding in its entirety as an event. So not just the day of the wedding, but all of the stuff surrounding it. Get pictures of the cake. Get pictures of the party, but make sure that you get pictures of the entire party. How do they look? What are they wearing? Odds are the detail is going to be more important on the bride side of the family because the grooms are usually in a tuxedo or a tuxedo-like outfit, same type of shoes, same belts, kind of bland from an aesthetic perspective. But make sure you get the details, not just the people. Now, that's probably going to double or triple the number of photos that you get. But you could, in a way, well, run it through this way. You're going to make them a photo album. What if you included, as part of your package, a photo album, specifically a photo album that is a small album that's just the details? Pictures of the flowers on the table, pictures of the detail of the dress, not necessarily the entire dress, but zeroing in on the detail of the bodice. Getting those small details, and you put them together in a smaller album, right? It doesn't have to be a great big album that you put together for this. Get one of those small book albums with just the details, just the wedding details, because it reminds the bride of all the work that went into such a beautiful event and how fantastic it looked. Now, I've seen a lot of wedding photographers put their sites up and they concentrate on the bride and groom, right? Here they are posing here they are posing here, but I've never seen a wedding photographer highlighting the details, all those little details that went into such a wonderful day and to help make that such a wonderful day. They may have pictures of the cake topping. They may have pictures of the bride and groom feeding each other. But do they have pictures of the entire cake layer by layer? Do they have all those little details that somebody took the time to put together to make it a special day, be it the cake decorator, be it the florist, be it the event planner if they had one? Do you capture all of those little details and put them together for your client? Same thing goes for most events. Now, sporting events, probably not so much, although I could think of a lot of things you could do in a sporting event, which I haven't done in years, that you could capture and put together in something like this with the detail. When I did sporting events, they were martial arts events. So a collection of belts, a collection of uniforms, the gi being put together, just a collection of the participants before the actual fight. I was taking pictures of the fights themselves, and that was my concentration, but I wasn't taking pictures of all of the other pieces that went into that event, which in hindsight I regret, but it was a lot of years ago and I wasn't thinking quite along these same lines back then. And that's one thing that I learned from watching the reenactors is their attention to detail, their attention to making it specific to the time that they're going to portray, and how important it is to them to make sure that that stuff matches, so that when people come in and they see, for example, what life was like in 1776, they could see how they dressed. I'll give you a prime example. There's a thing called a blanket coat, and it's basically a coat made of a blanket. Why? Because they needed some way to keep warm. They didn't really have it, and this was one way to do that, was to take what we would consider to be blanket material, look like felt, and make it into a over-the-shoulder jacket that they could wear that would still allow them to function and do the things that they needed to do, but at the same time would help protect them and keep them warm. So when you're taking pictures of any event, pay attention to the details. And that includes portraits as well. If you're dealing with somebody who has incredible eye makeup, make sure you get some close-ups of the eye. Always pay attention to how much time your client has taken into whatever they're doing when they present it to you. One of the things that I always like to do for lingerie, for example, is to make sure that the patterns of the lingerie stand out, that they don't get lost into the flatness of these two-dimensional photographs, that gets brought to life as well. Again, it's something that somebody took the time to pick out. It was important to them, And as photographers, it should be important to us to capture it. So that's what I got for you guys this week, and I will talk to you all next week.